Anybody, please?
Good evening, House.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Go ahead. Please go ahead. We were hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. My name is John Kennedy Chukwemeka Naji. Let us all be in the prayer mode first. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, in Jesus' name. Father, we thank you for this time. Thank you for availing this opportunity for each and every one of us. Thank you for the life we have. We call upon your holy name, O God, to come and take control of over this meeting we are going to. All of us are going to participate in. We pray that you shower your wisdom upon us all, so that all of us will benefit from this program at the end of it and have something beneficial to share with our colleagues at the very end. This we pray through Christ our Lord.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Amen.
So welcome once again to our quarterly technical meeting. Promises to be an interesting event. I will just not say much about it because we may know a few things about the speaker, but it's somebody that I know so much in the safety industry. So just to guide us to this event, the program will follow this particular order, and this is the agenda. We already had our opening prayer by John Kennedy, and we'll quickly go straight to safety briefing, or as it were, safety moments. After that, we have an opening remark by our section chair. We go ahead with the introduction of the moderators, the speaker. We eventually have the technical presentation. Then we'll open the floor for interest group members to make their inputs. Then we will have a quick wrap-up of the events. Eventually, wrap up of the presentation. The floor goes to after that, we'll have a quick remark and we'll take then quickly a safety brief. It's a virtual meeting, so I believe we all know what to do in case of an emergency in our homes. Fire, please don't sit down and say you're attending a meeting, act accordingly. The town is a bit chaotic, so also be vigilant of your environment and listen to what's happening around you. Then particularly for the presentation, I'm sure we are either connected with our phones, laptops, or tabs, or some sort of electronic device. Wary about it, very careful. You have water around you, so it doesn't spill over it. You have your cable connected to power, and be sure that you don't. I would also please that we all ensure that our mics are on mute so that only one person will speak at a time. If you have any comments or questions as the event is going on, you can just put it in the chat. I promise you that we'll find time to if we don't have the time, we can address it after the event. Please let's keep our mics on mute so that we don't interrupt the events. So I'll use the floor for the session with quick opening remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for this opportunity. And thank you for all the good works you are doing with the HSSE Technical Study Group. So as we have it in Section 103 SPE Port Harcourt, we have 8 study groups, in fact. So just one of them is the one for HSSE. So to look deeply into HSE as it relates to the energy industry, and also as it concerns current affairs in our country and also some other countries, just as it really concerns our day-to-day activities. So thank you again, Daniel. So the purpose of this actually is to align with SPE vision and mission. Basically for us is to network, to provide good technical content, and at the end of the day to make it also out there so that we can have good sharing and contribute our own quota to national and international development. So if you are not yet a member, I mean, this is an opportunity for you to just put your name down there in the chat, and our membership team is going to contact you. So we do this like second month of every quarter, in fact. So this is October now. So the next one will be in January. So in that interval, what we do is that after all this discussion, we put it again in our social media spaces, and we continue to discuss about it. And then at the end of the day, if you have something very cogent from it, we can make recommendation to the interested or the required authorities. So our discussion does not stop today. That's just my driving point. So beside our reports that we're going to write, but we will cascade also to the entire public. So, and the HSC group that we have also in SPE, they support us to relate with other HSC industry, so to speak, or organization. So we use them as a link to the outside world regarding HSC, besides a lot of studies that they also look at, just to be sure that we are also properly guided in Society of Petroleum Engineers. So I really hope that we'll have a good discussion. So it's very clear the discussion for today is we are reviewing technically, okay? So we are reviewing the occupational safety and health policy and the implementation. Okay, we put the implementation because in fact, that's what we'll be discussing after this meeting. First of all, we have to look at the policy, and then we have to strategize and think, how are we going to implement it in this country? So suggestions from here will now have to go out there. So thank you very much. I hope we have a good deliberation. But I can just keep also to the next thing in agenda to introduce our, you have already in fact introduced me. So I'm the moderator. So Daniel, so don't need to worry. So I'm the moderator at the same time. Okay, so the topic for today is actually to review the revised National Occupational Safety and Health Policy. So the first one was in 2006, thereabouts, if I'm correct. I know it was in around 2000s. So, and 2019, another one came out, which was now finally stamped this year, 2020, in September, which is the official one that we got. And there's a lot of things in this that we really need, that concerns everybody, every home. So it is not only about the energy industry anymore, every home, because there's an aspect in the policy of HSE that says there's every company, everybody have a duty of care. So you are responsible to your staff, you are responsible, accountable to people that are working for you. So, but if you don't have any policy in place, there's nothing that you're going to rely on that you're going to help you. So the first thing, so to speak, in HSE is to have a policy. So everybody knows that. And then you start cascading you start cascading to other things. Okay, so sorry, Danny, I think I've jumped in the gun. You want to introduce me? Sorry. I started talking. Okay, Danny, over to you.
No, but it's okay. Okay, I'm sorry that I interjected at this point, but I think it's important to have a lot of people that don't know you much. So I think it's important we introduce you properly. Okay, our moderator is someone very special to us. His name is Adebola Bada. He started his career in the oil and gas industry, and this was since 1997. Service, production, subsurface engineering, and HSE. He has also worked with ExxonMobil, and presently he is with Total. He had a stint of 2 years experience in Total E&P Nigeria expatriation as the HSE instructor and advisor to Bongkot Field, PTTP, in Thailand. Also on expatriation to preparatory phase of Kaombo FPSO project in France, and then the execution phase in Singapore and Angola for delivering 2 FPSOs, each estimated to produce 120,000 barrels per day. He has had great contribution to Angolan economy. Rather, the production has had great contribution to Angolan economy. He returned to Nigeria in September 2018, and he came here to lead an excellent group of HSE operations engineers in safely delivering major engineering projects with operation interfaces. His facility and subsurface engineering, drilling, also well services and platform installation, commissioning, and production phases. He's also knowledgeable in HSE project phases to production for platforms and FPSO. He possesses good managerial skills for continuous improvement and cost management. Very interesting. He has good managerial administrative abilities and improvement of HSE culture, including prevention of incidents. A great instructor and a good policy procedure writer and implementation and emergency preparedness. He takes credit for numerous technical presentations, both locally and internationally. He's always present. Okay, rather, presently, he's the Port Harcourt section chairman of SPE, a great speaker and moderator in lots of technical events. Very clear why we chose him to be our moderator today. Very rich and has a lot of experience. So, sir, we're very happy to have you with us.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you just pulled this off from my LinkedIn. Okay, I need to review this LinkedIn. In fact, I think it's too long.
Yeah, it's very important.
Okay, thank you. So, do we have the slide for our the citation for our speaker?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please put it on. I'm the one to read that, right? Or you?
You could, or if you maybe you could read.
Okay. So you can read it. Let's follow the agenda. I'm not looking at the agenda.
Okay, let me read. Okay. We have Dapo Omolade with us in our midst. Like I said earlier, is somebody I so admire and look up to when it comes to anything relating to safety. He is a qualified HSE practitioner, DGR instructor, and lead auditor with about 20 years active, consistent years of experience in HSE administration, operation, training, and consulting for clients in the oil and gas industry. He's actively involved in systems development, that is ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001. In addition to a Bosch qualification in safety and environment and a master's degree in safety and environmental management. He's a lead auditor and trainer for ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001. Also a trainer, assessor, verifier, and trainers instructor. He's an alumnus of Harvard School of Public Health in the US, HSSE Leadership Certificate obtained. Also an alumnus in London School of Business Finance, UK. Also in Columbia Southern University, USA for Industrial Hygiene Certificate. Also Lagos Business School, and eventually Michael Opera University of Agriculture, Abia State. He's also a member of many internationally recognized HSE professional and technical bodies, including IOSH, IASP, IRCA, PECB, ASSP, AOFA, ASPON, and others. In addition to this, he is a certified and approved instructor and trained the trainer for many international awarding bodies. Presently, he is the CEO of Hybrid Group Limited, a one-stop HSE firm offering diverse services in HSE and project management to all sectors with presence in Nigeria, Ghana, and UK. Hybrid Group Limited is also the owners of DGM Nigeria and Ghana, a dangerous goods management company providing training and consultancy services in air, road, and sea. IATA, IMDG, and ADR. Professionally, he is the chair of IOS West Africa Network, also national coordinator of Safety Advocacy and Empowerment Foundation, an NGO, also the publicity secretary / zonal coordinator of Oil and Gas Trainers Association of Nigeria, OGTN, the consultant, the Lagos Safety Commission, and a member of the Technical Committee on International Labour Organization, OSH Profiling of Nigeria. He's also involved in holistic human development and capacity building in the areas of HSE and business. He's a coach, a mentor, and a regular speaker at conferences, workshops, etc. He lives with his wife and children in Lagos, but works globally. He loves reading, networking, and football. Wonderful. Wow. So it's good to have you in our midst, and we'll hand over to the moderator.
Okay, so thank you so much, Daniel, for introducing myself and also introducing Mr. Dapo Molade. So it's also someone I really respect in the industry, HSE. And it's always, I've jokingly told him that we're making an associate of SPE because anytime we call on him, he's always there to come up. So we had this study around, I think it was like July or August, I think it's July or so. And then we invited Mr. Dapo too. That was about the COVID then. We deliberated a lot about COVID, the issues, what we need to do, and so on. And so it was very, very interesting discussion. And then this is the second time again. We just thought if we are looking at the policy, who else? We need to bring the people working directly on this every day. Okay, so I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Dapo Molade, CEO of Hybrid and also chairman of IOSH. So, but just to give a very quick introduction, also, we know that what we are looking at is a policy, and it's a policy for occupational safety and health. So that is OSH for this country, Nigeria. This is long time coming. Okay, so as I said, the first one was 2006. And now that they have reviewed it, and this is very interesting. A lot of people must have worked and a lot of HSE organizations in Nigeria. So this is a lot, and we need to pay attention to this because it doesn't concern only the energy industry, but every home as you will see in this discussion. So, national policy on occupational safety and health. And then we have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Dapo Omolade to make a very brief introduction into this, to help us unravel this whole thing about this policy, and then to let us know where do we go from here. And then we'll discuss this also with the study group of SPE, and thereafter we'll entertain questions from the audience and comments. So thank you, Mr. Omolade, it's your floor now.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you once again, my brother Bola and Daniel and every other person that made this possible. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm glad to be in this discussion because it's an opportunity for all of us to learn and to learn what we need to progress us in Nigeria and by extension the West Africa. It's always a pleasure when I meet with technical professionals because above all things, there will be a lot of cross-pollination of knowledge, some clarity, some clarification will be made. So I just want us to say that what we're discussing or what we're looking at this evening is, like Bola said, is a very, very important discussion. One of the things that I have personally celebrated since this policy was signed by the president of Nigeria. So I know Bola said I have like 15 to 20 minutes. That's more than enough for me to quickly look at the document, because what I want to do is just do a quick expose. I also had some guides from SPE on previous discussion on this and what people have actually looked at as issues or concerns in the policy. But before, I hope by the time I do the expose and just compare the policy, it will answer some of those questions. But if it doesn't, then we have a floor to discuss more. But let me start very sincerely by saying it gives me a lot of joy, it gives me a lot of happiness that at my own time as a professional and a practitioner in OSH in Nigeria, we have a policy that is more robust than what we have had before. Some of us who have been in the discussions in Nigeria know that why it is not so much about availability of laws, it is a whole lot about the implementation of the laws that are available. However, without a policy statement or guideline, or a policy document from the leadership, we do not see any commitment. So what we had as a 2016, as a 2006, as Bola said and rightly quoted, is what has brought us to where we are in 13 to 14 years. So what we're looking at now, what has now been signed recently for the 2020 revised OSH policy, where will it take us in the next 5, 10, 15 years? I've been practicing OSH for a little over 20 years now. So I've seen what the policy have or have not done since it was in place in 2006. But I'm looking forward to what the 2020 policy as revised will do, because from what I see in the policy, I'm excited because, not just because I'm expecting a miracle to happen, but it gives me an understanding that the whole leadership of Nigeria are beginning to really understand the importance of OSH. They are beginning to see beyond a nice to have, because what has always been looks like a nice to have, something to have in the box to just say, let's tick this box. But if you really look at this policy right now, I'm sure you will be convinced and agree with me that it gives us a little bit of more flesh, a little bit of more details that gives us an understanding that, okay, the leadership are beginning to understand, because I think that was the major issue that we have had. People don't understand us in the OSH industry. They don't know what we are, what we do. They don't know who we are. When we speak, they don't understand exactly why we're saying what we are saying. And that also is big deal, because If the leadership does not understand what you are saying, you will never get their buy-in into whatever you are saying. So for me, this shows understanding. And from what you see on the slide here, I've just basically went to our constitution to let us know what the constitution actually says, because it's important for us to know as OSH professional that we are actually there to fulfill the policy or the constitution of this Nigerian state. We have a role to play in that constitution. It is there. And as long as it is there, then we have a whole lot to do. And I thank Bola for what he said, that every one of us on this call and those that may be listening to us in other medium or channels should understand that what we are talking about here now is about us. It's about every Nigerian, irrespective of the industry, the sector, the ethnic, the religion, wherever you think you belong to. This discussion is heavy because it fulfills the constitution of Nigeria and what Nigerians are supposed to be. Government obligation is to protect the well-being of the working population and other persons in the country. Section 17.36 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says the state shall divert its policy towards ensuring that the health, safety, and welfare of all persons in employment is safeguarded and not endangered or abused. So, I mean, the first time I read this, I was very shocked because I've always thought that it's about just safety and security. But to talk about the health, safety, and welfare, and for crying loud, what do we do as health and safety or OSH professionals or practitioners? We basically try to facilitate the safety, health, and welfare of our persons, myself, and the people that work with me are not endangered or put in the line of fire. So Nigeria is obligated to also domesticate ILO, that's International Labour Organization Convention 155 on occupational health and the working environment that has been ratified since 1994. That's good news that some of us are not aware that the ILO C155 convention was actually ratified in this country since 1994. We may say, okay, what has that given to us? I can tell you that is part of why ILO has been at the forefront of ensuring that health and safety is established in Nigeria. About 2 years ago, I'm privileged and honored there to be part of the people that did the OSH profiling for Nigeria, which is part of what birthed this policy that we are seeing right now. I think that was 3 years ago, when ILO singularly sponsored the profiling of Nigeria for the first time. What that meant is Nigeria has never been profiled, so we don't even know our status when it comes to OSH. But ILO sponsored this through the Federal Ministry of Labor and other stakeholders. And we were in Abuja several days, weeks, months, reviewed and decided through the consultants until that ILO profile was approved, signed. And if you go to the ILO website today, you will find that document on ILO website as a document that have profiled Nigeria. Some people have said, but that is not accurate. Oh, it's not sufficient. What they capture was not the exact thing happening in Nigeria. But I was very satisfied to say that gives us a benchmark of where to start from. And now we have the policy. And Bola also has said it very clearly. The policy is a high-level document. It may not involve directly all the implementation strategies and how it's going to be done. But what it has basically told us is this is what we want to do. This is who will do it, and this is how it will be done. So to now begin to go into the nitty-gritty, because that's what policy tells you, what, who, and how. So, and that's what we have seen in the policy that we have now. So I will do the next 10 minutes and just show us a few differences, because I said from my opening remark that I'm excited at the policy, irrespective of what anybody's saying there that, oh, this does not contain so many things. No, it's so different from what we had in 2006 because it shows some knowledge and understanding. And let me show you what I mean by that. So what I'm trying to do now is I'll just put the 2006 and the 2020 side by side in 10 minutes and tell you what I see and what the documents, because the two documents are available and you can look at them even after the discussion and see what it says. Now, these are questions and concerns on the OSH policy as given to me as part of my engagement for this presentation. But let's leave this and see if this analysis will give us some direction as to some of these questions that a lot of us are asking. And I'm very excited that SPE section, HSSE section has actually come up with it, because these are similar questions that many people are asking. I've had at least 3 or 4 different fora now where I've been part of this discussion on this new policy. And these are very legitimate questions that everybody needs to ask, because as professionals, we know that this is what tells us exactly how we are going to implement this document eventually. So let's look at them very quickly. Year 2006 and year 2020, 14 years apart. One of the significant, this is just preliminaries, but you see the goals and the objectives, that have been expanded. And some of these objectives, especially expanding the objective from 3 to 7, gives the additional objective that have been added now, that, like I said, shows that the government or the leadership now understand the scope of OHS or OSH as it should be practiced globally. The key aspect has been increased, and one of the very significant aspect that was included in 2020 that was missing very seriously in the 2006 are the discussions around the growing number of self-employed workers, informal sector workers, independent contractors, casual temporary worker, or people that we generally call the SMEs. If you look at the 2016, you will see that it was very formal. Most of the discussion and strategies put in the 2006 policy was on structured organization, like where Bola works, where I work, where many of us on this call work, because that was what they could say. Okay, let's just address the oil industry, address the manufacturing, address those in the construction, and and just do patches. But now there's a little bit of more scope that have been added to it, capturing aspects that relate to those people. And as we are all aware, that group that was left out before constitutes the largest percentage of workforce in Nigeria. We are largely informal sector driven in Nigeria. So when you leave SME and you leave the informal sector off without talking about them in OSH, it means you are actually only possibly, this is just an estimation, you are possibly addressing the problem, OSH problem, in maybe 20 to 30% of the whole working population, while the remaining 60 to 70% that are there out there are not guarded for. And you can also see that when you go around, look at the mechanics, look at the welders, just go around your street or your estate or wherever you stay, look at the mechanics, look at the welders, look at the furniture makers, look at the fashion homes, and see what you see. That will tell you how many people are protected when we're talking about OSH. It's not just about where we all work in the big oil industry. Those places are very insignificant, really, when you compare to the population of Nigeria. So the 2020 policy have given some directions around the SMEs and other people that are working just by themselves on a small scale. Another part that is very important is the number 7 that I've written here. This is very big for me, because in the previous discussion in the 2006 policy, there was no dedicated session concerning the instrument for implementation. It was not, yes, if you read through, you will see them mentioned in one place or the other under the scope. Okay, there will be inspection, there will be audit, just mentioned in between sentences. But in the new 2020, there's a full section that talks about how are we going to implement this policy. And that for me is the main part of this policy that shows the difference, and that tells me now people are beginning to understand what they should do. Laws and regulations, talks about laws and regulations. So we are now looking forward to regulations coming forward. We are looking for regulations that are going to come to implement different aspects of all the areas of the policy that have been mentioned. We are looking at inspections now, stated as a strategy, a tool to ensure that we can implement this policy. Looking at advocacy, promotion, support from all stakeholders. Looking at training and research as a major driver to ensuring that this policy can be implemented, prevention strategies, collection and documentation of information and data, even the discussion about setting up an agency in the country that will help to monitor this, auditing, quality assurance, monitoring, and evaluation of services. This aspect that was missing in 2006 shows very clearly that we are getting close to where we are going. We are not there yet, but now we have a direction on where we are going. And then if you go to the roles and responsibility, it's now been expanded by more than 50% or almost 50% of what we used to have before. So, I mean, a lot of people have now been captured in the policy. Example, I'm now captured in the policy because I also have a role to play. In the 2006 policy, I didn't see anywhere where somebody talked about me. And when I say me, I'm talking about myself because I'm a professional. Now, the new policy has created a section where my roles have been defined. Even though I'm working in my own office and I'm doing my own little thing as a safety professional, I now have roles in the national policy. It means at some point there will be a tool or a strategy to make sure that my role can be implemented so I can be a responsible professional in Nigeria. So it's been expanded. As a matter of fact, it's been expanded to include, and this is very interesting, to include churches and mosques, faith-based organizations, clearly stated inside the policy. So it's no longer a case of churches and mosques and traditional homes are not involved. Faith-based organizations, civil society are now included in the policy as people that have roles to play. You have civil society, you have community-based organization. This shows a big expansion in the policy that now says, okay, so these people are now thinking that OSH is not only in the big organization, even churches, even community bodies also have things to play. So we're going to start looking at how community liaison, how community associations will begin to think about occupational safety and health as part of their responsibility. I'm rounding up, and in the strategies, it now gives an additional and modified strategies on how to achieve the policy. Remember, a policy is a statement of intention. So we are happy that the government and the leadership have now told us that this is our intention. So what should we be doing right now? Bring them to question, bring them to book, bring them to answer questions. I was reading the policy again recently and I told myself, so I can actually ask questions from people that are managing safety now. I can go to the Department of Occupational Safety and Health in the Ministry of Labor to say, when are we going to have so? It is within your jurisdiction as the authority, because the Federal Ministry of Employment and Labor is the authority that has to make sure that this is implemented. They are the competent authority for the implementation of this policy. So I can ask questions right now from them. Some of us could have asked questions, but now things have been stated out, so I can go to them and say, I would like to know how this has to be done. When are you going to do this? When are we expecting a regulation around this area? What do you need me to do to support? What do you need the NGOs to do to come and help you get this done? We can ask questions right now because the statement of intention signed by the President of Nigeria has clearly said we are willing and ready to do this now. So how to now do it is our own job to make them do. And then you have other aspects of here that I've just clarified, talked about the Factories Act. And one thing that's very interesting here for most of us in the energy industry is, if you look at the previous policy, I didn't say anything about oil and gas there, because the oil and gas was already an established sector, so the DPR was just there. But in the new policy, DPR has been made as part of stakeholders. So now it's no longer, oh, all industry are doing their own and those of us here are doing our own. Everybody's involved right now. So they have also been carved, roles have been carved for them to do. The SON, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment, everybody has been given a role. So we have a whole lot of people to now hold accountable. Because if you say it is your role, then we can ask you questions to say, son, why are you not setting standard for us on OSH in Nigeria? Because it's your role to do. All right, so thank you very much. So that's just basically my dissection of that policy, looking at 2006 and 2020. But in a few minutes, I'll just try and give us some sections of that policy that explain some of the questions that SPE team have already asked before now in the next 2 minutes. Funding strategy. If you go to the policy, if you have it right in front of you, 4.1.13 talks about the duty of the statutory authority. And one of the things that it basically says is that they will mobilize adequate resources. I love the fact that resources was used. because a whole lot of us here know what resources means. It doesn't just mean money. It means everything in that labor factor that will ensure that what needs to be done will be done. It includes resources as human. So there will be human, there will be money, there will be equipment, there will be machine, there will be knowledge. Everything will be there because they will mobilize adequate resources. That's what the policy says. So now there's no question asking, how will this be funded? No, it will be funded because they are the competent authority and they have to make it happen. That's what the president has signed that will be done. Now, and funding has now spread across so many roles, employers, organizations. Just go through it. You will see that so many roles as captured in the 2020 policy will provide resources to ensure that safety and health is implemented. So that is what the funding strategy. And if you talk about critical timelines, like we all know and I've said it, this is a high-level document. If we start having timelines in this policy, we'll be missing. It's basically going to be jumping or bringing the cart before the horse. So let's have what the government wants to do and the leadership wants to do as an intention, and then let's now go after and say, okay, let's now having discussion on how we are going to implement the strategy. Over 19 or 20 different strategies. Let's start ticking the boxes and saying what will be done next. So we are not looking at timelines in this policy. There are many of us have seen policy statements, so timelines are not critical thing that must be in a policy statement, but they will come in as instrument of implementation. When you start looking at regulations, you start looking at procedures and guidelines that will be formulated, then we'll start having timelines, targets that we can measure accordingly. So that's on that. Then on roles and involvement, I just told you that I can see myself in the new policy. So I am well represented in that policy. I have a role to play. And that's what I quoted from 4.15.1. OSH professional, the FBOs, the CSOs, and of course the community-based organization, they now have a role to play in the system. And if you look at 5.2.2 and 5.5.1, it talks about the collaboration efforts. So I can collaborate right now with the competent authority and every other stakeholders to ensure that health and safety. For example, I'm a professional and I know what health and safety should be. So I can discuss with those who don't know, right, to say, this is the best way to manage this risk. That's the role I can play right now and is well defined in that document. Role of SON. SON is not there to implement occupational safety and health in this policy. Please go back and read the policy again. It did not say SON will implement standard or develop standard that is for health and safety. It talks about standard being acceptable instrument for different aspects of our operation. And it made clear statement on occupational safety and health, which is ISO 45001, previously 18001. So the standard they are talking about here is not about developing how we are going to start implementing, because somebody was asking, how will they be the one developing and enforcing it? No, their role, according to the law that set up SON, is to develop standards for different aspects of Nigeria's system. And occupational safety is part of it. That's why today, SON, go there, you can do your ISO 45001 through SON, because they have the capacity to develop that thing. And they have been given the rights, the law. They have the right instrument, legal instrument, to be the developer of the standards, and those that will ensure that the standard of ISO and other standards, which are going to come up in different aspects of our management, talk about scaffolding, talk about lifting, all of those things, those standards can be developed by SON right now. And we can bring them to book and say, when are you going to develop standard for us on how to work at height? We don't have it, so we need a standard. That is the job of SON, and it is in the right legal framework of SON. Go back to their law, you will see it very clearly there. So they are not going to be implementing for us, but they will develop all the standards that we need, and then we'll go out there to implement. And finally, government commitment. For everyone listening to me here and professionals, government, I see commitment in this new policy more than what I've seen before. Maybe it can be better, but for what I see now, I'm happy that we have moved from where we used to be to where we are right now. So it's a good move in the right direction. Implementation is the critical thing here. And we all know our roles now to make sure that we can implement this process. Document-wise, is a good step and a good commitment for us in Nigeria. From the analysis, 2020 policy shows more improved knowledge and understanding of scope of OSH. Requirement for OSH implementation has now been well defined. More consultative approach to OSH, multi-sectoral. approach has now been put in place with so many stakeholders. Clear strategy plans, actions, infrastructure to even achieve the goals were stated in that policy. So it is a good commitment level. We will ask for more when this have been implemented. Asking for more without even implementing what we have now, we'll be playing on ourselves. And finally, I said, it may not be very specific in the law, in this policy, but in the background, SMEs, self-employed persons, have been captured. And it is also well stated in the introduction of that 2020 policy that this is for all Nigerian workers. So the strategy to reach all will be created within the scope of implementation and the tools that will be generated. So we have something we can be proud of right now. What we need further now is the implementation. All right, so in final conclusion, the new policy is a good step in the right direction. It requires commitment to achieve any of the set goals and objectives. All professionals must understand their role right now in ensuring safe workplace and work with all the relevant and the quoted stakeholders, including the media, which I forgot to mention. The media even now has a role in the health and safety of Nigeria. It was not in the 2006 system that we used to have. All right, so thank you very much. A few acknowledgements to Permanent Secretary for the material, because these are the people that made this happen, and I've been talking with them. The former Director of Federal Ministry of Labor and Environment, that's Elijah, Employment Elijah and officer who magnanimously gave me a copy of the 2006 policy while I was working on all of this. Babatunde Ogunmokun, who has retired now, but also helped in this development. And of course, to my very good colleague, Dr. Sojiola Sokpe, who actually did the analysis of the 2006 and 2010. He broke it down to show the different aspects of it, and then we discussed over it. So thank you very much for all of you for making this happen. Thank you very much. So I'll stop here.
Okay, you're not actually stopping there. Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Dapo. Anytime we call on you, we always see something very concrete, because it's important that we go to the facts and then not from the hearsays, facts. So, and that's what we are seeing from this discussion. And we have heard from you, you have said clearly that this is something we need to be proud of.
That's right. I
completely agree with you, because I have seen a lot of the policies at that high level that is nothing to proud about at all. So, for example, some things they wrote for us in the oil industry, some fine, if somebody does this, you will pay like 10 naira. If you do this, you will pay. You know, there are some ridiculous fines.
Yes.
So, and then you read it, you say, are you serious? So, for me, I want a situation where we'll have something realistic and reviewable, and then we can give a feedback.
That's right.
And then they will listen to us.
That's
and
right.
From what you have said, we know who to channel this to. We know the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment.
So,
and this is key on employment. And for us to also have a good interface with them, which is where we'll be going after this.
That's right.
To see, after all this, we will jointly do something together to see how we can, they can also listen to us and then give us some practical measures on how we can move forward. So for me, before the study group maybe starts having their own brief on this, you mentioned something. In fact, let's take on training alone.
Yeah.
Since you are the master of that, I just want to take on training. So if we look at this policy very well, it started mentioning about also resources regarding training, regarding that.
Yeah.
I want to see in Nigeria that we will have a national policy like this, implementable. And then if you want to work as an health and safety or security or whatever professional, we have something guiding as a baseline.
Yeah.
So NEBOSH is good. Okay.
Yeah.
IOSH is good. OSHA is good.
Yeah.
But I am thinking that this should also bring forth something that we can rely on. So I will give you a very, very practical example. I like to be practical. So while in Thailand, I was an instructor. I was made to first of all pass through their own national, it's a kind of a test. So honestly, they don't care about you coming with all the degrees. Take this minimum. You are coming as a supervisor, this is your distance. Coming as an engineer, this is the test. And then you have some training, and then you do, and you have to pass. And for them that is there in Thailand, they have to do this every 5 years as you progress. And at your place of work, they will demand this from you. That's number one. In Angola, it's the same. Each year, they have to review you as an HSSE professional on whatever category that you have. So it doesn't really matter now if you have Nebosh or have other things. This is their own base that they will judge you with.
Yeah.
Are we looking at something like that from this policy going forward?
All right. Thank you very much, Bola. Thank you so much. I'm very aware about some of the examples that you have given, which, in all honesty, is how it should be. What we are doing now is that we are celebrating what has not been developed for us. I'm a trainer in some of these qualifications that you have mentioned, and a whole lot of time while I'm in class, I struggle to say it the way it is been written in the document that they have given to me. The reason is it doesn't fit Nigeria. It doesn't work for me here. It doesn't show me how to do it. So I have to use my knowledge to re-explain how it has to be done in the UK or in the US, which doesn't work in Nigeria. So the need for us to domesticate, in fact, starting by having our own national guideline on education, vocational and technical. And I can tell you very strongly that this is part of what is already ongoing. But right in the policy, you can't see such thing being stated. And the reason is because it is not for the direct workability of that policy right now. But that's what yourself and myself can take to the competent authority and say, when are we going to have our own standard for education, technically, for safety, for engineering, for welding, for every aspect in Nigeria? Now, I can give you an information that is going on. I also play very well in the OCTAN, Oil and Gas Trainer Association, through the NCDMB. And that's in the oil industry. And you find that in the last 2 years, a lot of work is being done right now to set up a national standard for Nigeria on some discipline. As a matter of fact, recently we got information through the NCDMB that some of the discipline have been given a green light for national standard for training to be developed, content and syllabus to be developed in order to meet our own need. That's the way to go. All of that is, let me give you an example, Bola. If the federal government should, the Federal Ministry of Labor now, and say, we want to develop that now, come around, that becomes part of your own role as a professional to go and say, okay, I know you don't know this, but you have seen it in Singapore, you have seen it in Angola, in Thailand, in other places. So you can come now and say, I can offer this as a service to you because we are ready to do it. And the policy say we should have training and research. So let's go. But if we don't engage them, if we have the policy and they don't know how to do it, they ain't going to do it. And so we are not achieving anything. So that's why I say to myself that this is a good, because even if they don't remember now, I can take this to the PAMSEC or to the director now to say, do you know we can develop this for us? We don't want to start celebrating all the international celebrations. We want to have our own certification in Nigeria. Let's start the journey. Maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, we will get there. And then it will be approved for us. South Africa has national training on occupational safety and health. Ghana is working towards it right now. So why can't we do the same thing as Nigeria? But they will not do it if they don't have the competence. So now we can ask them to say, this is what you should be doing. We can give you direction and we can help you to do it. So it's a good way and it's a good time for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like the aspect that you mentioned, that we have to engage. In fact,
we have to engage. Collaboration.
So it's all about engagement. Yeah, collaboration.
Right.
And
in fact,
then
collaboration is stated
we all know
so many
how,
times in the policy. In that policy, there's so many mention of collaboration, which for me is the right word. Yeah.
Yes. And for me, and that is why we are partnering with organizations like IOSH. We try to engage as much ESPON, but they gave us another date. They couldn't make for today, and we'll still engage them further. And we know very clearly that as of what we know today, that ESPON by law has certain responsibilities.
That's right.
I'm not sure I saw ESPON, except I think I would revealed we didn't see.
No,
I'm
it's
not
not
sure
stated
I saw ESPON
there.
in this.
It's not. It's not.
Okay. Do you know where this is coming from? Is there a miss somewhere?
No, because it's a policy. And what you would have expected is to have a statement that relates to every instrument of government that have been approved. ESPON Act has been enforced, and so you expect that you can see a mention of that as a membership body to do something. But somewhere along the line, this was missing. Now, this reason I'm not here to speak about ESPON, unfortunately, but I know we were together in the ILO profiling for Nigeria. And these are part of the issues that not having a single house that is of the same voice, this is what you miss. So it's when we get out of the precarious issues that we are in now with ESPON, I believe they will step up into the role that they're supposed to perform, because they have a role in the Nigerian government law now to do about us in Nigeria. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Now I'm thinking again. I'm always thinking about these issues because we know what is happening in Nigeria. Yes, and I like also to be as practical as possible.
Although let me just mention that they quoted ESPON as part of related laws and regulation, though in the law, in the policy, the law was stated there as part of the applicable regulations and law in Nigeria. But there was no specific role assigned to them like in other parts that they assign roles to.
Yeah, okay. So I will go very quickly to funding. Even though I understand what you said, but we have also, we know that they said if you don't count HSE or you don't count the cost or the kind of cost HSE goes on with, that you have to try incidents. I have looked at the budget for 2021, which was the final briefing for the budget of 2021, just in late September. And I was really looking through to see the aspect. Immediately they signed this HSSE policy, to see that there's a ministry also that they need to a bit focus on. They are very insignificant in the budget presentation. The whole ministry, in fact, what they are giving to the whole ministry is nothing. So talk less of talking of this. So what I'm getting to is that we can try to do everything that we can. In fact, our budget is mainly recurrent. Recurrent is like more than 60%. So
almost
less than 30% to do infrastructure before you know.
70%.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So my point now is that we can try as organization, but what do you think we are missing in this? Do you think it's an issue?
Well, it is definitely an issue, my brother. It is an issue that we have to be honest with ourselves. But again, I will go to the other side, because for me, optimism drives most of what I do when I see things. Yes, as a safety person, my configuration is to be pessimistic. But when it comes to hoping and expecting things to happen, I switch on the other side of me. If you look at the budget for Nigeria generally, the question I want you to ask is, have you ever seen any article in Nigeria where somebody wrote to say the budget for occupational safety and health, it is too small, we need to do something better about it? If you have ever seen it. It has never happened. I've not seen it. But I've read on education, I've read on infrastructure, I've read on power, I've read on people criticizing the budget for Ministry of Health and all of that. But for health and safety, as a micro part of Ministry of Labor and Employment, you will never see it in any writing. The issue is because it has not come to the front burner. It has not become something that anybody is seeing. So what stops you and myself now to call the media to say, we would like to know the budget for operational safety in 2021? And because now the media has a role to play in the policy, and you have said they will mobilize resources. So we can call now, we can call the press people and say, we want to have a press conference. What's the discussion? Federal Ministry of Labor, how much have you budgeted for implementation of operational safety for 2021? Let them tell us. If they say it is 1 naira, we can now say that 1 naira is not sufficient for what we want to do. So we begin to raise our voice as a body, as people that have role to play in the policy of the government. That is where the whole thing comes from. Nobody has ever done this before. So this is what we should challenge ourselves about right now in the media. So we can talk about ourselves as well and say, it's not about how much has been allocated to infrastructure. It's how much has been allocated to protect Nigerians, because the Constitution of Nigeria says health and safety and welfare of the workforce is important to the government. So let's go for it. So this is a challenge for us. So that's why we should know that we have a whole lot, but presently we don't even know what the budget is, because nobody, I mean, it's not written for the author. It's just Federal Ministry of Labor. You don't know how the breakdown will be and what will be for operational safety and health.
Yeah.
Why can't we ask for it right now? That is what the policy has given us the power to do. So we can go and ask questions. We don't necessarily need to get answered the first time. When we keep asking the question, we will sure get an answer at some point, because our voice will also count. We have a role to play in the policy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just look very quickly to the infrastructure. For any society, infrastructure is the key thing.
That's right.
And I really like this policy because it's very detailed in terms of infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Detailed, I may say, but at least it has a listing.
Yes.
Of the infrastructures.
Yeah.
Coming back to the practice, how we work in Nigeria. I don't know if there will be change anyway, but at least for how we work. So I am looking at the aspect of the laws. There's a lot of things we need to put in place in terms of laws. So also maybe the organizations, HSSE organization, we have to do more engagement to bring to sponsor these laws, to make them happen, so that it can not just this policy and also the training and all those. So what do you think we can do extra if we are looking at this infrastructure, because it's very key?
Okay, thank you very much again, Bola. I made bold to say that this discussion that we're having right now and this enjoyment that we're having right now did not exist 15 years ago. Even some of us who were practitioner or professional 15 years ago could not speak anywhere, because you just sit down where you are, earn your own salary. Even they call you a security man, you don't care. Get your salary, go home and take care of your family. But now look at our voices are being heard. The reason why it's being heard is because we are continuously speaking. This thing that you're doing now is on live channels. Who says a government respectable official or a competent authority is not listening to us right now? Because we are talking, we are having conversation, we are expressing what should be done. So the truth is, the word we are speaking out is being heard. I'm very positive that somebody is hearing us. So the question now would be, like you have asked, The Factories Act, we are waiting for it to be repealed. We are waiting for a new law for occupational safety and health. The policy has now told us, number one infrastructure that the policy said, it said laws and regulations. That's the first time I'm saying that, really, because we have had laws, we have not had regulations that implement the laws. The primary laws are just as primary as they are. The regulations become the instrument, they become the working implementation tools. So, for example, why can't you have regulation on basic aspect of health and safety? Why can't you have regulation on different aspects as we have in other climes? We're even waiting for the first one to be passed as a primary law. So when the primary law finally comes out, which is what you have said, SPE is a big organization and other organizations that are available, we can get our lobbying instrumentation and tool together and begin to lobby at the top there. We need that law to be passed first. When we have that law in place, then we start calling for regulations. We start calling for legislation that will give us very implementable solutions to every aspect of our health and safety. So many of them, chemical handling, scaffolding, lifting, all manner. We don't have those regulations that can make somebody really say, stop this. They'll tell you there's no specific thing I'm supposed to do. You know, I'm talking to a client right now, and the first challenge is, what specific regulation am I supposed to implement with respect to this aspect that I want to come and do in Nigeria? And I say, UK. And the guy said, no, we have to obey the national law of every country where we operate. I said, that's very fine. But what you have here, if I send it to you, you will not see anything there. So you cannot implement it. Training for this set of craftsmen. I said, we don't have that thing in our law. So you are doing it over there, but you cannot do it here. So let's just get one training for them from US, and then we'll implement it here. That's what we have right now. So that's why I'm happy that for the first time, those infrastructure have been listed in the policy. So let's now begin to talk. Let's begin to have this conversation continuously. The more the merrier. Let's go. I mean, this is just happening on the media. Okay, yeah, maybe about 40 of us here. We can do a national dialogue where everybody will listen to us, where to go into the media, and somebody will be asking questions. What do we need to do? It is effort. Now, we are the one that really require this. I'm on the site trying to make somebody do job safely. An employer is not ready to make the person work safely. I'm the one struggling to protect a life. So if I can contribute that to the whole discussion and let somebody begin to hear me, we will have the laws, we will have the regulations, we will have training institute, we have research institute. All this infrastructure will help us to develop it. It is not a day's journey, guys. We have a long way to go, but we should be happy that we have something now that have given us clearly stated instrument and infrastructure that will be used to achieve our goal. So let's go for them. That's my advice. Thank you.
Thank you. I like the part where you say we need to be very optimistic and that we're starting, and then we need to be optimistic to where we are going to. Okay, that's nice. Thank you very much. Before I go into the last one, which is the implementation strategy. No, in fact, let me see. It's actually the exactly strategies for implementation in chapter 5, which is excellent. To be sincere with you, they have detailed basically what we have there, but I will come back to that. Another practical area I want to come from is that when the engagement with ILO and ushers, if you see basically in those days, what we used to know is the occupational safety and health.
Yeah.
Occupation, stemming from occupation, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, but after the Piper Alpha, coming down to the Macondo, now what the energy industry is really focusing on is about major incidents.
Yeah.
And honestly, this many countries are now having another. Okay, don't say that I'm asking for more, because in fact we're just starting this, we have not even done anything, which is fine. But for me, I also want us to start pushing this aspect so that maybe when they will review this in the next 3 years, I don't know the tenure of
Yeah, they wrote it there, 3 years.
validation of this.
Next 3 years.
3 years, then I'm correct.
Yeah, it's written there.
Perfect.
It's written there.
So maybe as we're working on this, we can say, okay, we have policies all over the world that we can just copy paste and adapt to what we have in Nigeria, which is basically major incidents. We're not talking about occupational here. This one we need to do as big absorbs. We need to do detailed risk assessment. We have to do all this qualitative and quantitative stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And in fact, even for the advanced country, the data is not easy. To do all this is not easy. So I will bring that back, even without you answering that. I will bring back that to the strategies of implementation.
Yeah.
Which basically one of the things they mentioned there is that the organizations need to work on also assisting in terms of research data.
That's
it's
right.
one of those things they mentioned, because we all know
in the strategy,
research is a big one in all this occupational safety and health, and organization needs to be empowered to support to ensure this happens. What do you make up of that?
Okay, quick one. On the management, I mean, I want to just laugh at you. You know, I also worked in the oil industry, so let's laugh at ourselves a little bit. In the oil industry, it looks like, especially in Nigeria, we have it well covered, honestly. Now, let me just juggle your brain. I know you are in the oil industry, so you have some information about what is happening in other sectors, though, but you're in the oil industry now. I'm lucky to be working in other sectors right now, not just the oil industry. And one of the things that I want to ask you is, if they ask you what is the percentage of incidents in the oil industry versus other sectors of the industries, what do you think you will say tentatively? You don't have the data, but let me tell you what I heard recently, because I don't have the data yet as well. But I was in a consultative meeting recently with DPR, and they gave statistics of offshore and on upstream and downstream. And as at that day when they were doing the analysis, the growth of incident in the downstream sector was over 400% of what was happening in the upstream, 400%. They're basically saying we've only had 2 in upstream this year, and we have had 100 in the downstream. That's the kind of analogy that they gave. Then I now said, okay, let's take that off and now say oil company versus construction, oil company versus manufacturing. What do the statistic is? This, now that's why I say it's very good now that DPR is included in this law. But like they say in social balance, oil industry, we are doing well. So leave us alone first. Now let's go to the places where these issues are actually on our legs. Let's first get them to even design basic risk assessment tools for SMEs and self-employed people before we start designing major incident risk assessment and matrices. Those ones are even, I mean, you are telling somebody who is doing organizer now to start doing hands up and acid. What does that mean to him? He doesn't really understand because we have come off, I mean, the oil industry have mastered to a large extent occupational safety and health. So we can rely on what they have done. I'm not saying we should not bring that to focus when we start expanding the implementation of these processes, because DPR has some of those things in their laws and they ensure that it is done. But for us now, let's meet the need of the 70, 80, 90% that don't even understand anything about safety and get them to at least go back home safely. Then we would have achieved a lot. But on the other aspect of research and infrastructure and the strategy that need to be put in place, I can assure you there is a whole lot that is written in that place. What you are reading, every time I read that, because that part is what I read most in my own case, I read that a lot because you cannot give me a policy without strategy for implementation. So every time I read that strategy for implementation, I'm so excited. I'm like, wow, this is a job for the next 10 years for us to be doing. But what will it take for us to set up an institute for research on occupational safety and health in Nigeria? Do you know what that alone, that's just one strategy amongst 22 strategies. Do you know what that would do to us? to begin to ask what kind of ailments, illnesses, operational health do the SMEs suffer? What goes on to the SME? What happens to those organizers? What happens to those bus conductors and drivers that are in the park?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us don't even know. We can think and say we know, they will suffer smoke inhalation. There are some other things that we don't even understand until somebody begins to do that research and come out with data. So we have a whole lot to do, guys, a whole lot. That when these strategies, in fact, I'm not looking for 50% implementation of this strategy in the next 5 years. No, that's the truth. Because if we implement 50% of this strategy in the next 5 years, we will be, in fact, we would have achieved more than 100% of our objective as operational safety people right now. So just pick those things and let's go. So let them pick training, let them pick research, let them pick setting up of institutions that will ensure this. Let them develop register for operational safety practitioners in Nigeria. Let's see those things, and then you will see how far we would have gone. So nobody is looking for 100% implementation here for the next 5 to 10 years. Even before we review, let's pick a few, because every strategy that you see here doesn't look like any of them is presently working in our society. So that means let's start from taking them one after the other. And like they say, let's start from the low-hanging fruits. So for me, I'm looking at them and saying, which one can I easily pick or pluck, as we say from agriculture? This fruit is very hangy. Let me just pluck it and eat it quickly. There are so many here that are very easy to pluck right now and start eating. And that's the next thing you guys should be thinking about and say, all this strategy, which one can we get done in the shortest time without so much resistance, without so much requirement for resources, and we can get done. And my brother, we have more than 5-6 years that we can easily start getting done in the next 1 year. So let's go for them. And that's where we should start from.
Thank you very much. I will hand over to the study group to continue. Just before that, my own recommendation for the study group is to look at the chapter 5, which is very key, which is the strategies for implementation. Let's do a checklist on that, and then we'll see how to go forward on that. So it could be permanently what we could be using for engagement with other organizations, and of course, with the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Please, let's quickly do a very concise, and if we look deeper, if we go to the collaboration to secure occupational safety and health of workers, also is very key. And then when they started talking about the monitoring and evaluation, they started saying smart objectives need to be set. So I agree with Mr. Dapo for sure. I think we all need to engage, to collaborate, and to really work on this. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dapo. I'll hand over back to the study group.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, presenter, and Mr. Bada, the moderator. It's been an interesting session so far, but I don't know if we, as the interest group members, we still have any extra input to make, because it looks like we touched everything. You're supposed to be the moderator, but you took, I don't know if there's anything else for us to add to this. For me personally, I just think just something I would like to say, really. It's still the issue of the interference of politics in some of these. I had a discussion with the time about this revised policy, and the first impression, because he's also quite knowledgeable about the policy, but his first reaction rather was not the Federal Ministry of Labor. When politics fail, and there's a little bit of sense in what he said, because it means a policy will only down to the tune of the president, or should I say the duty holder or the competent authority. So it means there might be a lot of interference, political interference in implementation of this policy. What am I saying? My understanding about the funding strategy that the government just releases funds, and duty holder receives and share it to a different MDAs and all of that, which Mr. Bada has also pointed out as maybe a bit faulty, because I would have expected a situation where these different sectors under the ministry have their budgets, sum it up, send to the ministry for final approval, and not the other way around, raising funds, then they share whatever they receive, just to drive this policy. So it's like a comment or a concern or a question. Do you think or do you perceive that you may have this challenge while trying to? The question is to Mr. Adamu. You're on mute, sir. No, yes.
I wanted to get your question very well. I understand what you said, but what exactly is the?
Okay. Do you think there may be this challenge of political interference in the?
Yeah. Okay. I think I wanted to be sure, because resources is a very big issue in everything. No matter, even if you go to big organization, presently there's so much talk about costing. Everybody's cutting costs. They're cutting everything they can cut. And if you're also in companies, you find out that OSH budget are easily cut. It's one of those that can be easily cut and just sidetracked. So what we're saying here is we can only continue to talk about the need for the competent authority to prioritize OSH, because that's not the only thing that they do in that ministry. That ministry has a lot of other organs. So OSH is one of the many organs of that ministry. So, but we can.
Is Mr. Dapo still there? Okay, he's dead.
I lost my network. I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I say, so the Ministry of Labor and Employment has so many organs. There's so many other places that the budget of that ministry will go into. Our job right now, because we know that OSH is part of what they should do, there's a policy that says they must mobilize the money for it and resources. It is now our responsibility to go. For example, how many factories inspectors do we have in different states of Nigeria? They are support of the infrastructure and instrument for implementation is inspection and audit. I have a few of those guys that are factory inspectors. Up until recently, a lot of the factory inspectors were not even trained enough to be able to do the right thing when they go for inspections. Meanwhile, they are supposed to be inspectors. So now we know. So can't we go to the department and say, you have only two, I'm just saying hypothetically, you have only 2 or 3 or 5 factory inspectors in Lagos State. It is insufficient. We need to increase this number by 100% in the next 6 months. How can we help? That is mobilization. So it's not just about the money. It's about making them to see what they need to do, because when factory inspectors go to companies, rather than doing the job, they go for other issues that are not related to operational safety and health. Part reason is also because they may not even know what to do. I tell you, if you see a hazard, if you see a snake and you think it's a fish, you will pick it up. So they need to know. So we have a whole lot to do with respect to that. So we will continue to speak. We'll continue to mobilize our efforts. We'll continue to let people know that now we understand what the Department of Operational Safety and Health of the Federal Ministry of Labor is supposed to be doing. And we will support them when we need to. And when they are not doing the right thing, we go out to engage, to collaborate with them to say, this is what the policy says. Let's get it done. So our job is, there's a lot to do. That's what I'm saying. There's a whole lot to do. But it's not just about getting them to they can put the money and the money is not even doing the right thing. But there are low-hanging fruit right now that we need to look at very critically and use that to begin to say that this policy is implemented by the competent authority. That is the ministry that is our own midwife right now. They are the people we should work with, and say you are the competent authority. You need to do this according to what the policy has said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just because of time, I know my group members in the interest group all have something to say. Just because of time, we'll just post a few questions. I can see about 3 questions. Okay, although some have already been answered, but I'll just read it anyway. Mr. Julius Olasom, he asked, does that mean that the implementation of OSH is Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity to act on? I think while you made your presentation, you already answered that, but if you want to throw more light.
Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, according to this new policy, is the competent authority. So they are the instrument. It is that part of government that will chase every implementation of this policy. Everything rests on their table. So if SON is not developing standards according to the role that they have been given, it is the Ministry of Labor that we have to go to say, why is SON not developing? If DPR is not doing the right thing in the oil industry, it is the Ministry of Labor that will go to say, Ministry of Labor, DPR is not doing what they are supposed to be doing. So they're the competent authority. They are the people that we're working with. There's no other person. So everything there, if it fails, if this thing fails, would that be implemented? They are the one that will be responsible and accountable for that.
Just before I continue, just to remind everybody that we're also streaming live on YouTube. So I'm collecting questions from both Zoom, YouTube, even in the study group. So I have one more question from Dorcas Jimmy. Okay, she says, for me, HSC is very vast and broad, and should be a separate discipline. That is, have our own department, that in our schools. Is there anything done to include HSC in our universities, technical schools, etc., in our curriculum? If yes, what is being done? Also,
thank you.
Please, can I have a summary of the steps, certifications, skills, etc., of how a young professional who studied other fields of engineering can go into HSC as a career?
Okay, so the first one is very easy to answer. Thank you. The first one is very easy to answer for me. The second one, we'll leave that one to many of you to answer, because I know we can all answer that question. So that we don't start promoting any particular study over the other here. But the first one, yes, indeed, OSH is a very broad discipline. The reason why it is broad is because it is multidiscipline. That multidisciplinary nature of OSH makes it so broad. You have lawyers, you have doctors, you have engineers, you have psychologists, you have in fact, every other discipline has a role to play in OSH. So that makes it so broad that, it's a case of finding where your competence lie or where your interests lie and giving your life to it, because you cannot do all. There's nobody that can be all when it comes to OSH. You can be a lawyer and just be as many as you want to be, but when you come to OSH, we can be generalistic at the beginning, but later on you have to go to where you really find usefulness. But with respect to university and occupational safety and health in university and technical schools, that's why I said this policy also gave a role to the academia. If you go to the policy, you will see academia was actually identified and a role was assigned to them. 4.14, role of the academia. The academia should be involved in promotion of occupational safety and health, especially in the areas of research, training, and education on occupational safety. If you want to implement that particular role, then you are now saying basically, we are going to very soon start having Department of Occupational Safety and Health in universities, polytechnic, not department as a course of study alone, but department that will ensure that people that work in university and polytechnic and other institutional environment do not kill themselves. Many of us that study out of this country, you will know that when you go to your university, there's a department, not a department for study, a department that takes care of your safety, health, and your welfare. Even in the universities, you just see Department of Occupational Safety and Health. You say, what do? They take care of you. They take care of all the hazards. They do all the risk assessment. They give you induction. So they do everything because a university environment is a workplace. And every workplace must have health and safety system in place. So in reality, schools and all these institutions that you have just mentioned will now have a role to play. So that means some of us can begin to do that, that work very close to the academia, and start asking them, the vice chancellor, how have you considered having a department in this school? Even if you're going to join into the facilities department, to say, when people come around here, they are the ones that make sure that the university do not kill anybody that come here. A department has been set up, not just as a study for a degree, but a department that is actually taking care of those in the university or polytechnic environment. This is where we are going to, because they now have a role. So we can collaborate with them. We can challenge them. We can support them to that decision, because the resources may be there. They may not even know that they need to have that department, but they have security department. So they can now create safety department. So that's what we're saying. So there's a role in this new policy for academia. So we can basically take this beyond the fact that we can start developing curriculum for universities and polytechnics and all of that. We can now take this to the university as well to say, you are a workplace, therefore you must have a section of this workplace that protects everyone that is in this place. Thank you.
Okay. I have one more question from Carol Bonita. I think her concern is about small-scale business owners. Very well. What is the strategy to get it? I believe policy implementation.
Yeah.
To self-employed, are there timelines? Will there be fines?
Okay, I'd mentioned this in the first discussion, but I'll just recap on this. They have not, the policy has not given specifics. And specifics with respect to timelines, to penalties, to rewards, and all of those things that we expect to see. No, we do not, as a matter of fact, expect this policy to have this. If this policy have had this, I would have been disappointed, because that's not what the high-level policy should prescribe. But we will have within the strategy for implementation where the self-employed and SMEs will be protected, and the procedure for protecting them will now be in place. So therefore, they will also understand that they have a role and responsibility to work safely without hurting somebody else. That's where we're going to. We are hoping that during the strategy formulation and implementation, we will start looking at nitty-gritty of how each of these sectors of the worker's life will be taken care of. But in this present policy, that specifics is not there. And I think it's a good thing that is not stated there. Before, it should have been pay 1 naira for anybody that misbehaved. They will start saying it is not sufficient. So, but in the strategy formulation, we will surely have specifics, timelines, deliverables, targets, and of course, they will come with rewards, either positive or negative. Thank you.
Very good. The aspect of reward is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
It's not always fines. Yeah, when people do good, we expect some reward.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's any other question I've not taken. Otherwise, I can just go straight. Okay. Moderator, I don't know. We've gone through the
go ahead.
Study group, and I don't think we have more questions. But there's one other thing. It's more like.
Okay, from the study group, do you have anyone to make comments?
Okay, just one more thing.
All right, my name is okay.
For the study group. Okay, just one more thing, please. Orished Jolomi. You know, we have a lot of people that participants come from different groups. I believe he came from So he's asking, is it possible for you, Mr. Dapo, to share your slide with us so it can also be shared with the West Africa?
This slide is going straight to Bola Bada right now, so it's available for sharing as usual. So thank you so much. No problem about that.
Thank you. So,
okay, thank you. So for people that have registered for this meeting, for sure, you are going to get it. Thank you, Mr. Dapo, for giving us that.
Okay. Anybody from the group, any contribution?
Okay, yes, my name is John Adebi, and I really want to appreciate Mr. Dapo for his submission so far. But my concern has to do with the role of ISPON, which is being underplayed by the current challenges that we're having internally. And as a key stakeholder in ISPON, what steps are being taken to ensure that whatever challenge they're having are resolved so that we can maximize the opportunity that this policy documents present? Thank you.
Mr. Juwan, why are you putting me on the hotspot? Honestly, I think everyone on this call, I'm not sure there's anybody on this call that has not been working to make sure that ISPON can step up to where it should be. Let's continue to do that. Let's continue to engage. I mean, I'm not sure I've seen many associations in Nigeria that have not gone through this kind of turbulence. So, but eventually they come back together strong. So that gives me another optimism that this one is going to come back strong. Unfortunately, now this has passed by. So maybe by the time we are doing the next review, that role will be, because the role of ISPON, according to the law, that the act that establishes ISPON, has a lot of part of that strategy that it should be fulfilling, you know. So, but it was silent because for whatever reason, so it has not been stated in the policy. But it doesn't stop ISPON from doing, because ISPON has a law, and that law can still function irrespective of the fact that it's not in this policy. But ISPON has to come to the place where it should be. And when it gets to that place, several things that we're all talking about now will start having their definitions. So I just want to encourage all of us here. I'm a full member of ISPON. I've been a member for many years. I'm proud to be a member of ISPON. I'm not proud of the activity of ISPON right now, but I'm proud to be a member of ISPON. So, but I know at some point we will become what we are supposed to be. So let's continue to do the engagement all across all societies, professional bodies, organs. Let's continue to do the engagement until we get our ISPON back to where it should be. And then we'll all be happy for it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Daniel, where are we? Are we good with the time?
Yeah, we are very good. More or less at the unless we have any other contribution from any. So if no, we can just go ahead.
So we answered all the questions from YouTube and also from Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Okay, let me just read this. It's more like a contribution. From Sunday, okay. Raising awareness and acceptability for this policy amongst the MSA, the major aspect of achieving some of the objectives of this policy. Just a contribution. Okay, in the absence of questions and contributions, I would especially like to thank our speaker, Dapo, that day. In fact, you dissected this policy very, very well. It's so easy to understand. So we in the last 1 month or so in our study, deliberated on this policy. We have at some point divergent data we are, but you threw more light to some of these issues that were a bit strange to us. I'm happy that you are part of it. Participated in the earlier policy. I think said you participated like 2 years ago, if I remember well. So it's good that we are having you here, but I don't know how we get you here. Very good. Everything I said is not just what you think, it's what you are part and parcel of this policy making. We are very happy to have you in our midst. And some of the concerns we had in our study answered them very well, very, very well. But the issue of friends was something that made it quite clear to us. Then the issue of timelines, we had this issue that, okay, having a policy that doesn't have specific timelines to political action. But now we understand that this is a high level document. It is in the later stages, the implementation phase that we get to see timelines for specific action. Also, the issue of funds. We are also not sure about rules, policy, but it's clear now that some have certain rights as per the legal framework. However, it's not, the onus doesn't fall. So this is very clear for us. Then also had a little bit of concern about, but also to have verified that for us. Because if we know up to now, what we see as OSH, or the standard of safety practice in Nigeria, is more or less, we have gone this far due to the effect of professional bodies and not just government policy. So we are concerned that the body like this one policy, but I think understand that there could be an omission. We are sure it's not the. We're happy to have that clarification, and I saw some of your comments in the chat session. I think you threw more light on that. So also our moderator, our big Oga, also thank you so much. In fact, we in the group, you took all the words from our mouth. We don't have any other thing to say because your interaction with Mr. Dap was quite extensive. I really appreciate you for giving us a wonderful moderation point. Like we read in your citation, you love to speak in public events, especially time. And we're happy that you accepted to go and so far, the has been interesting. And for the participants, I really want to thank them. It's not been easy. Found us. Now we are, Chairman, are you sure we can go ahead with this event? You can imagine the turnout. We got up to 50%. Very, very interesting. That I'm happy with the council. I know it should have been more than double of this number, but I'm still happy we had up to this number of persons. By looking at the quality of persons online, I wish I could read all their citations to be very happy that these people are the participants in this session. I really thank all for participants, our contributions, questions. I think that we've been able to dive home further the points that have been raised from this policy and deliberation. So thank you very much for your time and your patience. So just before we go, please, I would like us to have a quick photo sessions. I know we asked everybody to mute their mics and put up their camera, but just for this photo session, I encourage all of us to put on our camera so we can have a quick pictures of everybody that participated. And you know the rule. If we find one person that is not smiling, we will not snap the picture. Everybody must smile. It's very important. Very, very important. Now they are the moral smile. Mr. Nuhu, Smile. MM, why are you frowning now? I was
You have overworked You have overworked them.
really, she felt her contribution. Where's my man? In fact, me and you, we are almost. My wife will ask me, who is this person you are calling every second? Okay, wonderful.
And thank you, Dr. Michael Adegbite. I can see you online. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Caroline Onita from section 104 also, yes. Thank you for all the SP members from other sections. Thank you for IOSH also. I have seen a lot of them. So we're all together on this, from academia to industry. We have to make this happen.
Okay, smile.
Thank you.
Daniel, you're telling us to smile, and I'm not even seeing your video at all. Imagine.
Really? Are you serious?
Me, I'm smiling. I don't know if Daniel is not smiling.
Now he's showing.
Okay, now he's showing. Thank you very, very much.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dapo. Omolade, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So,
Okay, have
a quick closing prayer.
refreshing evening and splendid weekend.
Okay,
Thank you, Engineer Dapo.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Let's continue to keep safe.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Engineer Bala,
Thank
thank
you,
you very
sir.
much for answering the question.
You are all free for the IOSH. If you want to be SP members, you know how to get me. Eh? So it's very easy for you. It's direct entry.
Thank you very much for that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice
Okay, now good evening. Sorry, yeah. Don't mind Daniel, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Thanks so much, everyone. I'd like to log off right now. Thank you so much.